are really powerful ideas that infiltrate my kind of performance, but they kind of infiltrate theatre. But actually, where being in a place, and the place I am in is Australia, there are certain differences to, for example, being in Europe or in Brazil. So I'm just going to read a little bit to start off with. So, deep time. Intergalactic travel, it's a marvelously wild thing. It's a contemplation that has entertained over millennia. But my feet are actually firmly planted on Terra Australia. Terra Australia's migration is a transmigration of time, space, and it is understood through ancient geological time that spans past, present, and future. We are all composite of this constructed matter. A speck of dust. Through the poetics of space-time relations, a transmigration of spirit that comes from the earth is beholden to the earth and is a responsibility that I can't escape, even to go to the moon. That responsibility and how I actually am on this ground unfolds continuously. So given that, I have always been fascinated by land, by environment, by ecologies. But in an Australian context, you just have to sense. You stand in a place on a mountain and you look out across the land and you can sense an ancient Indigenous presence. We, Angela and I at this moment, are on Wurundjeri country. This is unceded country. The act of colonisation is seen everywhere in an Australian place, on and within an Australian soil. So as a non-Indigenous artist, I feel it's my responsibility to look at how did I come here? Why am I here? And how can I best acknowledge Indigenous elders, past, present, and emerging? I also acknowledge that the globe is round. We are a round earth. We see and stand from different perspectives. So from my perspective, I feel for all of those in the Ukraine. I can only imagine the terror. However, I acknowledge this terrible thing that's happening. The idea of infinity is at the outer limits of imagination. But of course, as Stelarc will show, science and technology have created vision from the tiniest atomic matter and documented the largesse of intergalactic space. And these places are now familiar. The images they conjure represent realities beyond limit. But for me, those ideas are about energy. They are about transformation. They are about the body in place. They are about the relationships between each other and the lands, the earth that we live on. So right now, you're seeing an image of a partially burning umbrella in this vast landscape. Now, this landscape is a place called Mitre Lake. And as Karen Barad says, responsibility. So I take my responsibility to endeavour to make performance works that respond to place. Now, Mitre Lake, which is this amazing salt lake in North Victoria, which is one of the southern states of Australia, but what it's got is this amazing sulfuric mud just underneath the crustaceous salty surface. So as you see in this image, there are footsteps. And in a way, in thinking about the early colonial past, as well as its implications that are directly connected to environmental issues right now, both being urgent issues, one, to undo our colonial past so that we can acknowledge Indigenous presence, but equally connect the destruction that has happened over many years to the environment through colonial practices. So the footprints of this site, Mitre Lake, show an indelible pathway of actions. These are my actions. However, they also show, which you might be able to see in the very distant of the image, other little tracks. So this site shows life and the struggle for life, because as soon as animals, of which there are millions over years, hop into the center of this vast salt lake, struggle because they get stuck in the mud and die. So in actual fact, the whole lake is a drawing of life, struggle, and a transformation of energy. Let's call it death, let's call it transmigration, let's call it the way it is on this planet. So I actually also had to address my own ancestral history here. This image at the very end is a shout. I don't know if you can hear it. But the image can speak. So my ancestors came to this land as settlers. They were gold miners and they were also missionaries. So the action again on Mitre Lake as a missionary, of course, came here. I'll just read this little blurb about missionaries because I think I might have said it okay. It's a funny thing when you're doing these things because I'd much rather just speak, but sometimes you can write it even better. How about this? The missionary, the subject also in faith, in a faithless land, which was a work I did much earlier, trudges through the mud, bearing the cross of salvation and carrying the word to whomever will listen. The whomever will listen is also vulnerable to bribes of sugar, flour, and redemption. But the missionary's struggle is that of faith in an environment that renders this action as ridiculous or mad. Nevertheless, the steps of the missionary have been indelible. This image I quite like because it's like the missionary in this oversized cross runs towards something, but there is nothing there. And that one then brings me, there are three works I created on Mitre Lake. And the next one, which I'll share with you, is called Falling and Flight. And it's a conundrum. It's that dilemma of flight or fight, gravity, holding everything back, pressing against gravity and soaring into the sky. So it starts to take on, for me anyway, real flights of fantasy. But actually, it is grounded. It always comes back. And after a while, the movements that can be let go and spring into some massive action suddenly collapse yet again. So it goes over and over and over again, finally still landing in this mud. Until, now this is just, and I never saw this before, but people have recently seen these images and they've said, gee, you know, they look a little bit like you've become an animal. And I quite like that because that idea of human, non-human as an interaction, as a morphing together of beings kind of makes sense to me. The struggle is a literal entrapment in this place. It's an entrapment within the gravitational force. Detritus Springs. And I don't know why I thought to say detritus. It's a very difficult word to say even in English, let alone translating it. Anyway, it's that idea. You know, when and Anna Singh writes about this beautifully, is the idea of you're in this crazy, derelict building that's got junk everywhere. It's got car parks with cracked concrete. Animals kind of find refuge there. There are plants growing up through the cracks of the concrete. It is evidence, which she writes so beautifully, about life. Doesn't have to be human life. It is life. We'll find a way to survive. And in that sense, I find that a deeply positive and deeply affirming idea that we, of course, have these massive issues that we are acting on. Australia needs to get a wriggle on. They're too bloody slow, but still we are voicing and acting and needing to change our attitudes towards the urgency of climate change. So this particular performance is done in a crazy site. It's a place where, as I described from Anna Singh's writing about a car park and a derelict building, this was a very contained area in a disused building that was full of junk. I mean, it was just stuff that was left there for years and years and years. So kids, I think I was too old to understand this, but apparently there's this fantastic cartoon called Wall-E. And Wall-E is this little robot that is stuck in a shed, and he's still just got a little bit of charge in him. And what he does is drive himself out into the place near the shed. He then finds this little plant and brings it back to where his battery can maybe hang on a little bit further with this plant as company. So this work actually, I didn't know about Wally until someone had seen this piece, but I really think it's the most beautiful idea. So the symbol of a plant that will grow regardless of pollution, regardless of denigration, is something that I try and find and search for some hope in these crazy times. But this particular site, and I don't know if you can see it, but I always felt like I was in a bit of a Hollywood blockbuster here. You know, the villain comes in and the smoke's there and the junk. Anyway, I thought I'd put this one in as part of that piece. So my performances, I do performances like the Mitre Lake series, where it's really seriously just performing for the camera. I'm very much driven by an image that I dream and basically have to make it happen, which is usually through a performative action. This particular piece, Detritus Springs, was for both the camera, but there was a live audience over several performances. So it works both ways. And this will be the last work I share with you, and it's called Antipodean Epic. It's looking at animal morphing into human in sites of survival. The virus, pre-COVID, way pre-COVID, this one. The virus interloper invades crops on a massive wheat field farm. And it culminates in a disused railway shed in Mildura. I've just got a cough, excuse me. So basically, there was this creature, and because I'm only using stills, you can't see it, but in Australia, and I suspect that must be in other agricultural areas, they have massive harvesters. And these are like huge machines that harvest wheat, they sow wheat. They're pretty much, the farmer sits on a tiny little area and he looks out of the window, presses buttons and drives in straight lines so that you can see in the back, you can see the perspective in this image of these massive lines. So what happened was the harvester dumped a ton of wheat on this little character. Now this little character, she looks pretty gay, but actually she was an interloper. So the question I was asking was, is this interloper a virus? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it going to contaminate everything? Anyway, the interloper, this character who loves wheat, has a marvellous time during the day. And then at dawn, some blokes in dust suits come and take her away. A bit like an African lion after the hunt. So this performance actually is constructed over 3 different characters. The first one is this one, the bird dash gay dash whatever character you like to call it, the interloper. Then there is another one born in this incredible gypsum mine area, which is vast. And so this other character called Straw Person basically comes to life out of this kind of environment. So one of the environments is agricultural and the other is in mining refuse. So this is the home and the birth site of this particular character. So what I'm doing here is creating still images and video that will all come together in a live performance a bit later. Kicking dust at night on the farm. Then this was for the Mildura Palimpsest Biennale, and all the audience had gone out to dinner, and I'd requested that the audience all put on dust suits. And so they came and they walked through the streets in their dust suits, understanding that something may be going to happen. So what happens live is the bird interloper re-emerges. I just raise her up. I don't let her come down. She's raised up to the heights of this massive disused railway building. Then we turn the audience's attention to the video of the next character, which is the Straw Person, who comes along this massive railway centre. Then is kind of a reveal. So it's starting to find out, well, actually, are the people in dust suits kind of scientists? Are they protectionists? So everybody, there were so many questions about this that actually you had to, well, maybe you always have to be there, but actually the reveal comes, the cleansing comes, and then I put on a dust suit and leave the building and lie in the centre of this massive wheat circle. So lying there really under the stars. So despite the story, despite any of the actions, in a sense, it is all quite a long way to get people to lie down together to look at the stars. A perspective that I think is very powerful, way beyond my making. Now, I think I might be pretty well coming to it. So let me see. I want to thank you, Carlos. Thank you and the team. You've all created this event under a most extraordinarily I don't know. All good. Thank you. I'm going to do one more image. This image I did in the middle of lockdown. I had 2 weeks. We couldn't travel. We could travel about 5 kilometres away from home. And it was this crazy tree that had been decapitated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane.
Escape. Can we
go back there?
That one there?
Yeah.
That one there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen in totality?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sterlak. I'm not sure if we want the questions for Jill now.
Oh, I'm
or
sorry.
later.
I'm sorry. Yep.
No, don't be.
If you want, Angela could be at the final conversation.
Okay.
I'm not sure. What do you want?
Okay. Is there any question now from the audience for Jill? Or if there is no question, we can wait until the end?
Yeah.
Until the end. I have a question, but could be until the end, after Stella. I think, I don't know. I think, what do you prefer?
I'm happy to go.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's
Stella's
go.
rearing to go.
And Stella is ready to go.
ready.
And so we can actually maybe ask questions that the both of them can answer. So yeah, if Stella, you are happy to go, please, the stage is yours.
Okay. Just to confirm that you can see and hear me, you can see the presentation full screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So as an artist, ideas are easy, but actualizing them is the difficulty. And being a performance artist means taking the physical consequences for your ideas. So these performances are about embodied actions. They're structured, but they're not scripted. Actions that require neither explanation nor interpretation. And this problematizes the body's form, function, and interaction in the world. So between 1973 and 1975, I made 3 films of the inside of my body. And so here the body is experienced not as a surface of skin, but rather as an internal architecture of structures, spaces, and circulatory systems. But 20 years after that, for the 5th Australian Sculpture Triennial, whose theme was site-specific works, I decided to make a sculpture not for a public space, but rather for a private physiological space. And the sculpture was inserted inside my stomach. Here, the body is not a site for the psyche, nor for social inscription, but it becomes simply a site for a sculpture. The body becomes a host for its own work of art. So we're in this time of circulating flesh, where we can take organs from one body and insert them into other bodies. We can take the hands from a cadaver and stitch them to the limbs of an amputee and animate those cadaver hands. I did 27 body suspensions with the body in different positions in various situations. Here, the body is counterbalanced by a ring of rocks, 1 rock for each insertion point. The body is gently swaying from side to side, setting up random oscillations in the rocks. Unfortunately, the telephone rang and we had to stop the performance. Suspended on an outcrop of rocks 300 meters from shore. The only people who saw this performance were a group of fishermen on a nearby outcrop of rocks. They were fishing before we arrived. They were fishing during the performance, and they were still fishing when we left. And suspension performance 60 meters above the Royal Theatre in Copenhagen. After 30 meters, all you could hear was the whooshing of the wind, the whirring of the crane motors, and the creaking of the skin. So these early physically difficult performances indicated the inadequacy, vulnerability, and quite the obsolescence of the human body. And there was a desire to augment the body. And the first augmentation was a third hand, sophisticated enough at the time to get invitations from the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena and the Johnson Space Center in Houston to demonstrate the hand to the extravehicular activity group. This hand could be actuated using the electrical signals of the abdominal and leg muscles. And at first it was just a visual attachment to the body, an aesthetic attachment for performance. But I did learn to write with 3 hands, each hand writing a separate letter at the same time. I had to keep my 2 eyes on what my 3 hands were doing. And because of the spacing of the 3 hands, I had to remember every 3rd letter that I was writing. Whilst my right arm was extended to primate proportions in this performance, my left arm was involuntarily moving continuously for 4 hours via a muscle stimulation system. It didn't take much imagination that if you could do this in a local space, you could do it remotely. This is the muscle stimulation control box. The switches indicate which muscles could be actuated, could be programmed. And this touchscreen interface, people touching the computer model performs the choreography that they've programmed. And a second later in Luxembourg, where my body was, my body moves involuntarily. So people in the Pompidou Centre in Paris, the Media Lab in Helsinki, the Doors of Perception conference in Amsterdam could remotely access and remotely interact with the body. This was a kind of split body performance, not a split mind and body, but a split physicality. The left side was involuntarily moving, prompted by people in other places. The right side was performing with its own agency. So as well as a time of circulating flesh, it's also a time of fractal flesh. And by fractal flesh, I mean bodies and bits of bodies spatially separated but electronically connected, generating recurring patterns of interactivity at varying scales. And this is just a definition of the internet. As well as manipulation, I was very interested in locomotion, in evolutionary comparative anatomies, and in this 6-legged walking robot, which was robust enough to support the artist's weight. The artist could select the leg movements by making different arm gestures. So the robot could walk forwards and backwards with a ripple gait, sideways with a tripod gait. The robot could squat, it could stand, it could turn on the spot. So the body here becomes a kind of contemporary chimera of meat, metal, and code, of biology, technology, and computational systems. The body performs beyond the boundary of its skin and beyond the local space that it inhabits. A 5-meter diameter walking machine that translates human bipedal gait into a 6-legged insect-like locomotion. Encoders on the leg joints enable the leg to step up and down, actuating 3 robot legs to lift and swing forward. So stepping up and down alternatively enabled the robot to walk. The robot is always stable because it's always on 3 legs. So these performances are about alternative anatomical architectures, experimenting beyond biomimicry. A walking robot that has a rotating ultrasound sensor. It detects if someone approaches the robot. The robot then selects from its library of possible movements, performs a simple choreography, and then sits down, goes to sleep until the next person is detected. But the intent here was to engineer an actual virtual system where the mechanical movements of the legs modulate the facial behavior of the head. A project that's in fact still underway in Ljubljana at the moment. This is a robust but small robot that will be able to climb up my tongue and into my mouth. a kind of aesthetic gesture to the increasing intimacy between the body and its technologies, because at a micro and nano scale, these bits of technology, these sensors, these machines will be able to inhabit the internal spaces of the body and augment our bacterial and viral populations. We can now instantly scan a face and produce a hyperreal skin. And with adequate morph targets, we can animate that skin for facial expressions and real-time lip syncing. So skins have become screens. Screens have become skins. We no longer caress the other's skin. We now caress our screens. So as well as circulating flesh, fractal flesh, we're also in a time of phantom flesh. Increasingly now the body experiences itself as its phantom online. But phantom not as in phantasmatic, but phantom as in phantom limb, with the increasing proliferation of haptic devices. The extra ear was first imaged on the side of my head, but this proved to be a difficult position to construct an extra ear. But in 2006, we were able to find 3 surgeons and get funding to surgically construct an ear on my arm. This ear has now been replicated, relocated, but the intent is still to electronically augment it to make it a remote listening device for people in other places. A 4-metre-long sculpture of the ear on my arm, a performance lying on the sculpture, a kind of counterpoint between a whole physical body and a much larger fragment of the body, and suspended spinning above the sculpture. I thought the spinning would last about 5 minutes. It lasted about 15 minutes. Here the body is attached to the end of an industrial robot arm. Here we could precisely program the body's position, orientation, its velocity, its trajectory. And in this performance, the body becomes this kind of extended operational system of bodily metabolism, machine musculature, and computational programming. And when the body finishes its performance, the body is replaced by a large sculpture of the artist's ear, and the same choreography is repeated. But of course, what's interesting is that the robot that choreographs the ear is the same robot that carved the ear. Stickman is a minimal but full body exoskeleton that algorithmically actuates the body for a 5-hour continuous performance. But I do have one leg free that I can pivot on, and I can modify my shadow and modulate the video feedback projection. And in recent iterations, we've also engineered a mini stickman, which means that visitors to the gallery can bend the limbs of the mini stickman and insert their choreography into the performance, a kind of electronic voodoo. Exoskeleton Arm was engineered for the rewired, remixed performance. And for this performance, yes, for 5 days, 6 hours every day, I could only see with the eyes of someone in London. I could only hear with the ears of someone in New York, but anyone, anywhere could access my right arm and remotely animate it. So the body was effectively in 3 places at once, 2 virtually in New York and London, and 1 physically in Perth at the Perth Institute of Contemporary Art. This was a kind of sharing of visual and acoustical senses and a distributing of agency. And this 9 metre long, 4 metre high robot for the 2020 Adelaide Biennial of Australian Art had 6 degrees of freedom, bending its limbs, but also it could rotate continuously on its axis. And in the performance, which was a 5-hour performance, the body was positioned on the torso of the robot. I could actuate the limbs of the robot with pneumatic joysticks, improvising with local interaction in the gallery and people online interacting with the robot as well. So you have to imagine the sounds that are happening. There's compressed air sounds, there's the solenoid clicks, and also the whirring of the rotational motor. So the soundscape immerses the audience that attends this performance. Now, I imagine this performance as a kind of contemporary pietà, you know, a small human body in the clutches of a much larger robot body. But Nina Sellers more astutely observed here that the body is merely a human strap-on for the robot. And the project that's being engineered at the moment for the Science Gallery in Melbourne, the anthropomorphic machine, pneumatically actuated with 12 rubber muscles. It has a skeletal, deformable tensegrity structure. The vision system detects when you approach the installation. It detects your movements, your position, and this generates a response. It generates glitching behavior, swaying behavior, pulsing behavior. And you will be able to interact with this installation, robotic installation, online as well. So to conclude what's happening here, we now navigate from physical nanoscales to virtual non-places. The body inhabits abstract realms of the highly hypothetical and of streaming subjectivity. The body is a kind of hyperhuman, but that becomes less than the sum of its hyperlinks. And if we can speak of an experience of a self, it is of a synthetic one, generated by hybrid human-machine systems incessantly being remixed and reimagined. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just
Okay.
Thank you, Stellak, and thank you, Jill. Before opening really the space for questions, I was really just a final comment that, as Jill said at the beginning, you know, Stellak's and her practice are like opposite, and that's why I invited them over together. But there are actually a lot of points in common, and I was just reflecting now how much that when we talk about transmigration, at least me, I think about moving from one dimension to always somewhere else. Well, here in these works, what I can see is really transmigrating within the possibilities of our own bodies and transmigrating from a dimension through layers of our relationship with, you know, our body and the environment and the technology and the past of colonial memories. So it's more than going somewhere else, is really thinking through different possibilities and different layers of what is already here, but we maybe couldn't see or we couldn't experience fully. And so this is my just very final comment, because I'm happily overwhelmed by all these work and these discoveries. And yes, please, if anybody has a question for Stelak and for Jill. Carlos, you're on mute.
While we're waiting, I think what needs to be emphasized too is there is a commonality with Jill and myself in that, you know, Jill's performances are very much physical actions. You know, they're not about the normal kind of illusions of sort of popular theatrical performance, but about, you know, physical embodiment realized in a physical space. I think that's what we share in common, the desire to physically actualize these ideas.
Yeah.
If I can, I have 2 questions. Is possible now?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. One question for Jill and one question for Stellar. And before, I want to say thank you very much for these 2 wonderful presentations. And thank you to Angela because Jill and Stella here today for for your work with us. Thank you very much. Okay, I try to do it. The first question for Jill. Because when I see if I want to share my I'm not sure if I can't now. Okay, probably I can. Okay, the next time. Okay, Jill, when I see your image, not only your image in your work, is always this idea of transmigration, and there is always a contact with the other, with the otherness, and also with a space that is outside the terrestrial sphere. And I think is rather connected with the magic world. When you prepare your performance, your work, you think about this. Like your body is transmigration space to the infinite.
Yeah, indeed. That's really interesting. I think the words that come to me are the idea that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it is transformed. So in a performance sense, going in a ordinary pedestrian way just blocks what you need to say. So there is a certain openness to channel or to change or just simply allow the actions that you've worked out to work on the body and to be open to do such a thing. And so that means that the energy can transform. I know there are sometimes for me, it works more in a still photographic sense, because if I'm not absolutely grounded within where I need to be, it just looks like I'm at a family Christmas party. It just isn't interesting. But when, and the camera sees it, it just sees it. So the idea of repeating an action so much that socializing sense just goes, and the body actually has to react, in a sense, honestly. There's nothing to hide it. That's when that energy can be created, nor destroyed, but can be transformed or transmigrated. So it is in that liminal realm that I think is very powerful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. In this case, what you say in your conference, you say that the artist is like a missionary, if I understand good. And in this case, I have a question: is because I think about also missionary and visionary. If the artist creator is a visionary of the other world, of the other spatial and temporal dimensions, no? Like a missionary is visionary.
Well, something had to drive them, didn't it? Something had to send those missionaries. And the idea, whether it's the idea of faith, it absolutely is vision that drives it. So, Carlos, yeah, maybe you're right there. The reason for me of choosing the missionary, of course, is their role in most of the Indigenous people, particularly from that site, were either massacred or were died from European disease being brought in. But the missionaries established places. So the remaining tribes were forcibly taken to the missionaries. Now, this was not great. It was terrible. It was really bad. But one thing the missionaries did do was to teach folk how to read and write. So I guess in that sense, it was sort of helpful in their bigger colonial project. But yeah, my missionary is a very cynical and tragic creature.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I like that, Carlos. Thank you.
Thank you for your ask, for your words. I'm sorry. Okay, now for Stellar, if I can't, I'm not sure if I can. Yeah. Okay, Stella, also I can see that your experience with the performance, for me, of course, probably you say also, I can see that your experience with the performance is very, very theatrical in this all time. I can see that. If the relationship with the scene is approached by the experimental way, or more by the of representing that body in a scene that represents transmigration. If the body functions as anatomical architecture that carries an experience of the existence, or on the contrary, is the existence takes you to the body. I'm not sure it's clear my question.
Well, if your question is not clear, my answer will be even worse. if I understand, or the way that I would like to answer that is to say that, for me, the body is a historical construct. It's a social construct, and of course, before that, an evolutionary outcome. I see the body as an unstable entity. In other words, for me, the body is no longer an object of desire. The body should now be considered as an object of possible redesign, because I don't accept the biological status quo. Is the body adequate? I mean, for example, the body can be fatally contaminated by microorganisms that it can't even detect, that it can't even feel until the pathological condition occurs. We need to gulp air continuously to survive. We need to drink water at least weekly. Otherwise, we're dehydrated. So yes, we're embedded in our environment, and we're nurtured, and we've evolved in this biosphere and dependent on it. On the other hand, evolution has developed this 1400 cubic centimeter brain that, augmented with its computational systems and other instruments and machines and sensors, can now intervene genetically, and can intervene with the very design of the human body as such. So, of course, this comes with great responsibility and a multitude of ethical problems. but as Virilio warned us, with every new technology, there's a new kind of accident. And the medical community now, what they're doing is saving people, but they're also at the same time experimenting with medical devices that might only temporarily prolong someone's life, but these are experiments that might benefit others in the long term. So doing experiments on people is not a new thing. Fundamentally now, re-examining the design of the human body itself, not for pathological medical reasons, but for reasons of perpetuating a more viable, intelligent entity that might exist beyond this biosphere. That's the great responsibility and the ethical dilemmas that we now face. And I know I didn't answer your question, but I didn't quite understand.
Thank you very much for your answer. all the time my questions are very, very stremely, probably. I'm not sure if Agnieszka probably say a question.
I do. So first of all, I would really like to thank, the two prominent speakers for the outstanding, really eye-opening, very moving, thought-provoking presentations. I'm really happy and honored, that I could witness, at least in presentations, your works of art. So in the order of speaking, I would like to maybe not really ask such a direct question, but maybe ask about comment. First of all, to Ms. Jill, I wonder whether Australians have that awareness, yeah, that for Europeans, Terra Australia is already associated with transgressions and transmigrations? It's my first question.
That's terrific. I'll just respond this way. Terra Australis was colonized by a legal fiction called terra nullius. And terra nullius was a British colonial legal thing that basically said if a land is unoccupied, we can take it. So basically, even though there are historic documents of the original people on the original boats that arrive on the shore, and they get off onto the beach and they see massive indigenous tribes, and they say, oh my goodness, it is occupied. And in fact, they describe the landscape as cultivated. So terra nullius is the fiction that Australian culture finds very difficult to come to terms with. And it also is very difficult because of that for our culture to truly and deeply acknowledge our First Nations people. And that's how I can answer that.
So the transgression as a sort of violent, the act of violence.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Yes.
The act of colonization is a violent one, but also the consequence of the impact of colonization on land practices, on social practices, is part of the reason for the Australian contribution to climate change. It's part of the contribution that we, as in the southern land that we are, our contribution to global warming. Admittedly now, farmers are really quite tech savvy. They're actually waking up, but you know, our politics hasn't. Not yet.
Okay, so a very seminal act, yes, that is passed through from generation to generation, somewhere in the social memory, let's say.
Yeah.
And one more question. You mentioned that energy cannot be neither created nor taken. Yes. Okay, but my impression is that you are very tentative as far as the issue of land, yes, and nature is concerned, yes. So I truly believe you are very responsive to place, and if human beings are responsive to place, they draw this energy from air, from ground, from. We are more humane, yes, because then we are rooted.
Yes, exactly. That's how I understand it. That's how I feel it. Like I think different people respond very differently, but from my own practice and my own connectedness, I do need to, it does come from an Australian perspective, and I have made works in different places, but they just don't go deep enough. I can't get deep enough So I think it is something about how my particular body and energetic construction sits within the land I'm in, which is Australia, and there are then it can be transformed into these other ideas. Sorry, I think I've got a bit lost on the track there, but
Okay, so it's like inner source of power, yes, inner drive.
yes, precisely. And I know from you know, being in Europe, you know, it's powerful. The feeling I always get in Europe is that the soil has been tilled over millions of generations, and there's not one grain of earth that is not turned over. And it's very different in Australia, because it is sort of vast and wild and empty, pretty much, except for massive population dots. Indigenous folk know about that, but so it is quite different, Brazil, different story. It's all, so I liked Stellark's idea of, you know, someone from a different place operating visually, someone orally, someone audibly. That, because the thing that I've always often have with me is, what do you see from where you stand? Because it's very different. I know what I see from where I stand, but I'm most interested in what you see, all of you see, from where all of you stand. So when we put that picture together, it's very powerful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Indeed, yes, we have different perspectives. We live in different environments, but still, yes, there is something in common in between all people. Yes, maybe this lust for naturality, yes, and strive for the connection with Earth, yes, and being real, just being real.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
thank you for that question.
Thank you. And now I would like to ask Stellark. Really, I'm really even shocked, but in positive way, of course. Yes, when I saw the pictures of your installations. Yes, you mentioned the body is inadequate. Yes, but at the same time, I truly believe that you find it really resourceful. It's a source of your art. It's the beginning and the end. Yes, it's like a life cycle. It starts, yes, with you, yes, and then transgresses different I missed the word, embodiments,
Yes.
yes. So
yes.
And then comes back to you. Okay, so
well, yeah, except that these performances, in a contradictory way, are not about this particular person. There's no psychosocial melodrama concerned with this body in these performances. Anybody could be suspended. Anybody could have a sculpture inside their body. Anybody could have an ear constructed on their arm. So it's not about what this artist, or it's not from the perspective of personality or from this particular body, but rather performing actions that go beyond the individual. And like Jill, generating images that can be, that kind of transcend the particular and can be related to in a multiplicity of different ways. So, you know, this body is the only body we have. And so, but then you can't deny that this body can have other thoughts, that this body can have other kinds of desires, that this body can experiment with alternative anatomical architectures. It's not about romanticizing or having any nostalgia for the human, because the human is a body that is constantly reconfigured, reimagined. You know, Heidegger speaks about the body being sort of thrown into the world. You know, it's very much historically constructed body. But, you know, the human has both spatial and temporal continuity that goes beyond any one particular human body. I used an example recently about a 25-year-old American woman. She's 25 years old. Several years ago, she gave birth to she gave birth from a 25-year-old frozen embryo. So she was the same age as the frozen embryo. And they think that they can make embryos viable at least 50 years. And if that's the case, then we're desynchronizing human reproduction from individual human existence. So, for example, you could be born on your sister's deathbed, or you're born several decades after your mother has died. I mean, you know, we're really messing with the spatial and temporal continuity. But what I'm pointing out is that we should be thinking beyond this particular body and seeing these actions and performances in a more generalized sense.
Mm-hmm. So if I may ask, you view our body as a separate entity, yes?
Well, of course,
such a division.
we're individuated bodies. You know, your body is gendered differently from mine. Your body is culturally different from my Greek body. Your body is much younger than my body. There are many, many differences. So we are particular bodies. We are individuated bodies. We are kind of individuals. On the other hand, we have to imagine and reimagine possibilities beyond the individual, and consider that this body is inadequate in its longevity, in its form, in its functions. We have to challenge this. You know, we shouldn't have a romantic nostalgia for this biology. In fact, the body is in excess of its biology already. You know, it has a multitude of sensors, wireless devices, computational systems, machines that propel our bodies 100 kilometers an hour or 500 or 600 kilometers an hour in the air. So we're no longer performing as only biological bodies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you for reminding us. It's really vital, yes, that we are like a transient creatures, just passers-by, at the same time inadequate and very resourceful.
Yeah. Well, it takes maybe 70 years to gain some knowledge and some wisdom, and then you quickly deteriorate and die.
Yes, that's correct.
It's not very logical.
We are the guest of our body, yes? Our body is the host. Lovely. Thank you very much. One more time. I'm really very impressed and, as Angela said, overwhelmed. And I wish to be, to stay in that state forever. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Agnes.
Thank you. Okay, how to switch it on?
Thank you, Agnieszka, for such meaningful questions.
Yeah.
Very on point and very good question. Meaning also that our guests were very actually good at presenting their work, very clear, and they are great artists and very also great speakers, I must say. And this whole concept of transmigration, and as Stella said, the individuality of the body, but still can with multiple resources. And I was thinking on how much also Jill transmigrates from one character to another in her performances, still using the same vehicle, because I see the body like a vehicle, allowing us to transmigrate in a new story, in a new dream, in a new image, or in a new relationship with technologies and others, seeing with the eyes of someone else, and so on. So is there any, more than I could go on with my comments forever, and thanks God I will not. But more than questions, I have just, wow, my mind is really blown at this moment. There are any other questions or any other comments from our artists? Yes. Sometimes we hear quick crack through the screen, and I thought it was a question, but it's just some quick crack from somewhere. Do we have? Oh my God, what did I do? I touched something on the screen, and I can see Agnieszka is typing. Can you still see us?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's okay. I touched something, and the interface has changed.
Yes, indeed.
We are back.
Right.
Okay. Yes. I think there is someone who is typing. No. Okay. Any question? I can see in the there's with us some people are invited over. Thanks for coming. And I know people in the audience speak different languages. If they want to ask a question in Italian, in Spanish, or in Polish, we can answer that. Well, yes.
Exactly.
So please don't be shy. Don't be shy. We have at least 4 languages under our belts. So. Yes. Well, actually, I've been told yesterday if there are no questions, it's either because they have fallen asleep, but I don't think that's the case. It was maybe more the case with my keynote lecture yesterday, not certainly today. Or otherwise, they're just very satisfied and speechless, out of surprise, which is like I am right now. I cannot say anything intelligent at the moment, and just mind blown.
No, I want to say thank you very much for Jill, again, for Estella and Angela, because it was very, very interesting, very, very beautiful, and wonderful conference speaks. Again, I am very, very thankful for us, but no, we need to continue with the conference. You are invited here at the next conference if you have a time.
Yes, to actually come and meet you in person would be a delightful thing. And if you're down south, come too. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Again, I want to say I'm sorry. My English it's for me it's very difficult to speak in English, but I try.
Thank you.
Thanks,
My
Carlos.
Polish is even worse.
You're doing really well.
Yes.
The message
Thank you very much.
gets through, yes?
Okay.
So if it gets
Yeah.
Thank you all.
I really don't know how to carry on, yes, with the conference after.
Yeah, I know I'm the moderator here, and I should say, okay, let's wrap it up. And I never wanna say that, you know, it's like when I'm on a video call with my lovely nieces, and I don't wanna hang up, and I say, you hang up, I don't want to. You know? But yeah, again, I'm just really a messenger here. I do thank Selak, I do thank Jill for accepting my invite to come over to this conference. And I thank Agnieszka and Alexandra and Carlos and Tomasz to actually give me the opportunity to be here. And when I asked them, can I bring some true, very cool artists, please? And they just said, you do well, we trust you. And so really, they gave me a blank page to draw on. And I hope you all enjoy this. I certainly did. And I would just like to finish up with a big thank you to all of you here. And then, yeah, you carry on with the conference. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was lovely. Thank you. Hope to see you. Lovely. And well, we need to carry on, and we wish to carry on, of course, with the conference. My name is Agnieszka Kliś from Bielsko-Biała University, of course, and I'm going to moderate this short session, which will consist of 3 lectures. The first one shall already start. It's a lecture by Martin Stur from Konstantin, the philosopher, University Nitra, Slovakia, also University of Bielsko-Biała, and Jan Albrecht, Music and Art Academy, Bańska Stanica in Slovakia. And the topic of the lecture is discontinuity, and consistence of time and space in the nature, science, language, as a problem of the text and representation, theater as world and world as theater. I pass the floor to Mr. Martin Stur. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to apologize for my skill of English that is not non-existent, but my friend told me that I can express what I want, and it's comprehensible, although it's not English, but it's comprehensible. Yes. Well, what can say someone that is not specialist in theater to someone that knows something or much about the theater? Well, I'm a reader. I'm an analyst of text, and I'm theoretist. So I can maybe tell something about differences, about different concepts, and that these concepts are every time actualized in every new on how can be these context actualized in the actuality. Yes, so I can so I can maybe say something about something that is very important, and that is the reflection of time and space as something that is not continuous in the reflection, in the human reflection, and it's continuous in our understanding of the real world. If something such exists different as something different than our constructions, yes. One, well, the nature, the science, yes, and language are, it's something uh, that is important for our civilization, for our culture. Uh, yes, it's important. We cannot live yet now without it, and we have some idea of what it is, and we have some understanding, but this understanding, cannot be perfect, cannot be, and it needs to be perfect, yes. And that is why it is a problem of the text and representation. And there comes another title, theater as word, and the word as theater. Yes. Well, what is the physical word for us, and why do we need a representation of something, everything? Well, the first idea is that our representations is not the representation of the world as it is. It's the representation of how we see the world, how we understand it, and so we can make reproductions, we can make documentation, yes, but this documentation has two dimensions. Well, one dimension is how can it be really seen as it is, and how it is really seen as we see it. Yes, there's the difference, and there comes the importance of language of the text and of the picture. Yes. There's idea that we are being that are thinking only in words, yes, in language, that our conceptual language is our, only space and dimension of communication. I don't agree, yes. Why? We are thinking also in pictures, we are thinking in situation, we are thinking in relationships. Well, but the text is our dimension for theory, yes? And the text is our best mode to communicate something that can be seen as reflection, reflective thinking, not real-time thinking. And but in the representation as such, we work with real. We can use union of text and picture, and we can really and today technology allows us to communicate very fast, very effectively, and the combination of the voice, text, music, picture, movement, space separation, time separation, is something that allows us to express something well, very efficiently. And the contextualization is multidimensional in the theater. Yes. First, then we can seek the difference between the representation and performance. Yes. One. Well, representation is something that is representing something that is different. Yes. We are representing, for example, some story. Yes. So, something that is in the past, or something that is really or fictional or mythical, when myth doesn't see any difference between something that is fictional and non-fictional. Yes. And the performance, it's concentrated on the skill and on real action of something that is representing something. So the performance and the representation are both interrelated but different terms that are, well, that this difference between them is very useful for our understanding. Really, what we are talking about when we are analyzing something, when we that is what when we speak about differences. But the synthesis is the unity of something that was differentiating. Yes. Well, when we come to communication and performance, well, every communication what that we do, that we realize, it's our performance also, but there is also a difference. Well, the communication is the action, and it's the objective, the goal of our activity, and the effectivity of the communication depends on the performance, how we do it, how we understand it, how much practice we have. Yes. And that is this relationship between real time, reflection, and interpretation. Yes. We're acting in the real time. That is when we have theatrical work or some another public action, because the theater is something that is really public. That is a very important thing, and we base this real-time performance is based on the reflection and comprehension on what we want to communicate, and we do also communicate us. Yes. And the harmony between these goals to express myself and to express something is something that is basic for the every staging, every interpretation. Yes, we have a unity, but and synergy between the text. That is very important, because the text allows us to contextualize things that are not present. Yes. we are making present something that is not here. Yes, there's music. Music is depending on the time. Yes, without the time, there is no music. The time is the dimensions of music and the text also. But the difference between the text and the music is that the text is based on the concepts that are relatively something unchangeable and general, and music is based on that dimensions of our sound creation that is not based on the concept, but we have musical thinking. We have also musical idea. Then comes the dance. Yes, the dance is the moving, the moving that is has artistic form, but every moving, every move, yes, every move in the scene, it has meaning and should have some meaning. And what does the dance, for example, not only literally as moving, but as in the rhythm, but as also as dance macabre of the Baroque thinking, and something that is some rhythm that is coming from outside, but is but have something, some power that is stronger than us. And then there is a scene where we have stagings, we have, but we have a make a stage of every situation, and we obviously can see every acting, every performance as insane and as staging. We have made a scene of every situation, and we can understand it as such. Yes, and in this space, to really say something, we need something like public masks, because our private faces, for example, an author, when he is writing, when he's publishing, but doesn't real-time communication, has to have his private or her private face, and in the public, when he's showing himself, like Socrates, when he uses his really not interesting body as something that show the democracy and the right of everyone to say something. He has to say something publicly. So the theater, well, use masks, yes, in the beginning, and our appearance is really a public mask when we show something, when we interpret something, because we are the mask of our ideas, our goals, our responsibility, yes, and it is every time something public, yes. When we speak about the relationship between this time and the space, yes, we already I'm making something analytical. For the ancient Greeks, there are two point of views of the time. Chronos, yes. It was a time that is something objective, that has something that comes as something that cannot cannot be influenced. That is something that is something external to us, and it's one dimension that we cannot come back to something what we have done. Yes, we have understand it. We can understand it. We can explain it, but in the same moment, when we are when we really do something, that is not only the reflection, that is also our need to do something. There's our emotion, there's our will. Yes, and kairos is the right time to do something, or the time that is now, that is subjective, and that is how we are living our situation. So Greeks, for them, the cosmos and the word, the logos, was something that was really something that seems to be to us something that is timeless, something that is static. Yes, they have also this very interesting relationship between two concepts of time. Yes, when we are staging something, there is some sound. Yes, the music. What makes from sound music? Yes, there is something that we can see as understanding as some musical idea. There's the idea that is communicated in text. There's some idea communicated in the music. For the classical Greeks, the music was something very deeply related to our situation, our thinking. For us, the music is something that has also autonomy, and when we combine in the staging, then we can see differences between, for example, tragedy, opera, and we can say actual postmodern staging that uses also music and sounds as something that is at the same. Yes, that is yes. We can see this as something that is one dimensions of the staging of something. And when we are speaking about the text as something, yes, I can say it as a man of text when I'm in a spectator of some theatrical play. I'm thinking in the basic text is my deformation. Yes, but the speaking about something and expressing myself is for me something that is really based on some motivation and the expression. Real expression is something that is in the theater, like in the science, like in the philosophy, something that is profoundly public. Yes, externalization of something that is something what we really need, not only desire. Yes? We can see also differences between spaces and places. Yes, for the Greeks, the space was something that was one. Yes, there was one space for everything, and there was the space of the real world. Some but it was something at the same time comprehending some aesthetical unity, yes, cosmetics, yes, and also for Plato, there was our space was not real space, yes, because the real space was the space of ideas, yes, because only the ideas were perfect, and for Aristotle, the theater was something different because the space of theater is the space of when where really that was the space for creativity, for creations, and the places. The places are something that we speak about Euclidean geometry, but it's much more the Cartesian thinking that makes the space as something that is really as some infinity. Yes, our language allows us to speak about the thing that we cannot imagine, and the infinity is our construction, but it's very useful. Also, the idea of space of René Descartes is very useful, but it's not reality. It's our simplification. Yes? When Heidegger in 20th century speaks about deep places, about Holzwege, the ways that are going nowhere. He speaks about our real time situations when we cannot say if our place is a right place or deep place. That is the place where when we don't know really if it's we can come somewhere. Yes, but there are also common places, and we need common places to communicate, to really exchange our ideas, and other public places like the theater is the public place for excellence. And we need also private places. And what is our private place? Well, that can be our thinking, our imagination. And to come from the private place to the common place, and to come back to from the common place to our private place and to change. Yes, it's something that is really something that theater is the place for it. Yes. Well, we can speak also about what we do when we what plays really had the imitation and creation of something in the theater. Well, the imitation in animals. The animals are imitating things, but they're imitating it not to communicate, to say something true. Yes, they are imitating to well, to protect themselves, showing something that they are not. But in the human mimesis, we are creating that want to show something true, using well, not only imitation, we are using illusions to say to show our something that is important and true for us. Yes, as for example, when we are showing our mm, our well negative emotions like fear, yes, as something that is really in our imagination an obstacle of our responsible acting, yes. We have also the dimension between the author's mind. We have the text that can be read, and it's a type of understanding of theatrical word as something that can be read as text. Yes, we have the staging, but the most important things are the spectators. Yes, the spectator for the Greek theater was a free person that was in the situation when he has seen something possible, something as realization on the stage, on the safe position, in the safety, but and some protections of the distance, but with the possibility of feeling what is really happening. Identification in safety in the situation that are very, very hard, or it's not a good idea to be in real life tragic hero. It's not a good idea to be comic hero, yes, but it is what is really happening, yes. And when we want to make something of our lives and our worlds, that fear cannot stop us, yes. And theater allows us to be better persons. Maybe, yes. Also, there's the dimension between education and barbarity. Yes, the education is something that we have learned, something that is acquired, and that is something that is really important for us. Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Because my picture is totally frozen, so I can speak about the barbary also, because for the Greeks, the barbary was the situation where there was no public place, where there was no space for common decisions. But the barbary is also the lack of prejudice. Yes, the barbary, the neo-barbary of the present time is something like possibility for us, and we can educate our spectators. We can really make something of our stagings. Yes. So we have already talked about the distance between the author's idea or the motive of the work and the presence of its staging. Yes, it's the staging. It's the possibility of real-time presence of something, of the we living in the presence of what is there, and it's a part of our thinking. It's our need. Yes, it's not our desire. It's much more our need. We have the work as its autonomy. That means that we don't need imitate something that is really there, imitate something as it is, but we really imitate something that is in our understanding. We are more expressing our responsibility to something that we are staging, and that makes well, very well complicated relationship between the truths and lies of our living. Yes.
Mhm.
So also we can talk well, that are objects, persons, and messages. Yes. Objects in the theater are not only objects, and the person as also objects, but they are really expressing persons, and the messages are created in the minds of the spectators, but and also in the mind of the actors, spectators, and critics. Yes. And theatrists.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, but it's my
Yes.
role, to keep to the schedule. Okay,
Well,
the time has already run.
1 minute. Yes.
If you recap, if you could politely just recap, yes, I would appreciate it.
Obviously.
Sorry,
Yes, we can say much about this, but we have these dimensions that the theater is the context, is contextual, I think, is the context of the world. The stage is really the place of the world, of the reflection of the world, and the theater show us really the world as construct, and also, well, the world, the theater is showing the world as something that is the place and space and time of autonomy and completeness, realizations of something, unity and incompleteness. Why? Because the incompleteness is the real-time situation. When is something complete, that is something that is in the past. Is the survival, yes? Space of survival and complexity, because when we are acting, we are in the situation when we are really seeking for survival, and it's the place of openness and perfection. Yes. There is no time to explain the relationship between the exopoiesis, sympoiesis, and autopoiesis. I wanted to normally, I'm attacking Varela and Maturana, but the autopoiesis really can be seen as something as fragment, very, very important fragment of our situation. And sympoiesis is the more or less the real state, and the exopoiesis is our, well, that is the situation, yes, where we are also. And we have no time to speak about the dissipativeness and stochasticity of the picture that we are making. It's something that needs more time and that we have not. Yes. So thank you for your patience. Yes, and there is the mail when you can ask everything. Yes? Thank you. Thank you very much for your patience. Yes.
Yes, it was not about the patience. Yes, we were listening carefully. Yes, thank you very much. It's good to know, yes, that we are representations. We ourselves are representations of ourselves, yes, and maybe or some other entities, yes, or of our thoughts, of our needs. It's good to remember. If you don't mind, I would postpone the asking question part till after the two next presentations. Okay, so it will be like the end of our session. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite Ms. Monica Sacomandi from Albertina Academy of Fine Arts in Turin to deliver her presentation on visual art in a project of applied theater, The Game of the Goose.
Yes. Hi. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yes.
And first, I would like to thank the organizing committee to inviting me to present this project. And maybe you are moderator, no?
Yes.
Yes, but thanks also Angela Viora, Carlos, and also Alexandra.
For this session.
Maybe I am sharing my presentation. Okay. Let me see.
I know that you have sent your presentation to Ola.
Yeah, I'm trying, but if I have problem, you can show you.
Okay, so maybe I can ask Mr. Biela for help, for some support. Panie Arturze, mógłby nam pan pomóc? Powiem, że ma pan tą prezentację.
If you can share, thank you.
Yes, we will try, yes, and solve the issue. Just give us a second. Panie Arturze. If not, it will be me, yes? Just give me a second or two.
Because I have to close. Okay, maybe now.
Okay, I'm already there, almost there. It's wettransfer.com. Yes, so I will probably need to
Thank you.
Click on some buttons, yes, to agree to some terms. I just need a couple of seconds.
It's a PowerPoint and maybe a short video, but.
Okay, yes, I need to agree to some license regulations. I'm almost there. The terms of service. Okay, and they want me to download it. Wow. Okay, so download.
Yeah, but it's a lot image.
Okay.
Don't worry.
I can retrieve it from among my files. Okay, there it is. But it's downloading. Oh my gosh. I thought I would guess a direct access, yes, while clicking on the link. But no, it needs to be downloaded.
Let me see.
And it can be a sort of time consuming. It won't work that fast. I'm just wondering, maybe let me check, yes, if the next speaker
maybe I can try again.
Oh, please do.
Yeah,
Otherwise, well, we have no choice but maybe to reorganize the presentations. Oh, it's downloading, yes, but it will take some time.
No, but I don't know. I have problem with my computer because.
Okay.
No. Now I send my presentation. That's why maybe if I have a problem, you have my presentation. But maybe it's too heavy. No, it's a long title.
It's too big as a file.
I'm sorry, the time This is short.
So again, like new technologies become agents, yes, of
Yeah.
conference, but in this, let's say, not too polite, yes, not too good dimension.
Okay. Presentation. Maybe I'm trying to go out and come again from the platform. No.
There is this share button, yes? It's like rectangular shape with an arrow pointing upwards.
Let me try go out. Just 1 second.
Okay, so let's have another go. Yes, please go out and then be back. And if not, yes, maybe the next person will start. Yes, and then I will be able to download your presentation. Could it be like that? Would it be okay with you?
Agnieszka. Moment.
There is Elko. Okay, if somebody could help us, I know that Mr. Biela also has the presentation. So
Okay.
if you possibly could share it. Yes, I would appreciate.
Może send me the presentation.
It's not the problem, Carlos, of presentation. I got the link, yes, but it needs to be downloaded.
Okay.
And it's a big file, yeah. So, but I can of course send it to you. Maybe you can download it slightly faster.
Okay, send to me. We changed the first person, which with Monica, and I tried to download this link. And I can to share the screen.
Okay, so I have already sent you the email with the presentation. So maybe I should ask Miss Iwona Wojnicka to start her presentation, if it's possible, yes. And Miss Monica will deliver her presentation slightly later, okay? So is Miss Iwona Wojnicka with us? Nope, I'm afraid not. So she might join us at 12:20. I'm afraid she's not present. I'm sorry. So
okay, try. No, I don't know why.
Okay, and if you display your presentation on, now we can see the screen. I can see myself. Yeah, so
I don't. Yeah, I don't see. You can see.
Yes, but
you can share it. No.
Or I may try and take over control, but not over your computer.
It's important that everybody see, because it's maybe.
Okay, so if you just open, yes, your presentation on your computer.
Okay.
Play it on your screen, yes.
I'm trying.
Okay, and then there is somewhere this button to click share. As I said, it's like rectangular with an arrow, and we can see your presentation. There it was for a moment. Now it's covered.
I open my presentation now, but I have to share it because Okay,
lovely. We can see. Oh, we cannot see. But okay, I will try and to do it by myself now, because if you display it on
Okay.
Teams, then I can take over the control. Oh, now we can see, and you can leave it like that. It's lovely. Yes, it's readable.
Okay.
Wonderful. Yes. Perfect.
Maybe. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry because it's late. Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Just I show you the work with the 7 students from my Academy of Fine Art in Turin. Is a work with a big project by social community theater. The definition of social community encompasses a wide range of creative theater practices such as community theater, community play, theater for social change, theater of the oppressed, folk theater, and dramatic theater in school education. The Social Community Theatre Center of the University of Turin represents a form of participatory theatre closely associated with the visual art that operates through a transformative cultural strategy within the specific community of the created theatrical activities and performances with the value of culture, civic, artists, and psychosocial well-being. The methodology the game of the goose serve as a capacity building tool for both urban and rural communities to develop critical thinking regarding numerous civic actions. The audience development process to meet the following civic needs: countering inequalities, improving the quality of citizenship, countering discrimination in the distribution of opportunities that allow people to live in active and respectful way of the self and others. The playful dimension of the methodology of a social theater is a fundamental condition in the promotion of learning and promotion well-being. Playing stimulate commitment and participation not through the medium of acting, but through the creation of a space free from stereotype and prejudice, permeated by the key element of pleasure. Tables of the game of the goose. Each table represents an opportunity for capacity building. The participant, for example, trained the ability to act in the face of situation of discrimination, seek a creative solution to cope with no virtuous civic behavior, is faced with information and news on the issue of inequality to be evaluated and shared. In short, each table trains individual and collectives and sensitive to modify their beliefs and behavior, and also and later also possibility modify the world around them. This is the art-based qualitative research. Due to the pandemic restriction, the preparation of the sketches for the pictorial table was performed through distance learning on individual basis with quickly group meeting online platform. The disadvantage for the student was the use of personal paper and color instead of the material available in the laboratory of academy. The pictorial table of the games of the goose were divided in 2 major groups. A is an evocative goose, quiz, did you know that, personal group story, empty station, and iconar figures. For each set of the evocative table, a limited search for qualitative data was performed before the selection of the graphic solution. For the iconic figure, it was deemed necessary to collect a preparatory set of qualitative data for each subject as a guide for their pictorial representation. Before the first group meeting, the student received the master plan of the game of the goose and the preparatory research material. They were left free to provide idea-based sketches for any of the tables without limitation, and free to choose between the individual tables and the set of evocative tables within a 2-week deadline. This is just a timeline chart. You know, is material collection for iconic figure tables and project operational phase is July, August 2020. Concept of each table with multiple proposal is also September 2020. Selection of winning concept for each table. Development of each board, detailed development of each table through online individual message with supplementary materials and online platform group, and presentation to the client for approval modification. The hand is the painting of each table in the laboratory, individual and group, maybe first week October and the end of November. Oh, this is goose table. Goose table is several proposals were presented for the goose, the symbol of the entire game. The start table was the most important one to provide the opening statement of the art which trained the mind. The group consensus indicated the graphic design of a flock of origami inspired multicolor gears. This ancient technique of reducing shapes and form to the simple folding of the sheet of the paper expresses the simplicity of a children's pastime and the complexity of its form applicable to many mathematical models and structural and architectural designs. It is an example of a sophisticated understanding and manual application of the geometric transformation into a three-dimensional structure from a flat two-dimensional surface, which has originating in the Far East from China to Japan and has become universal. The polygon flock of the geese symbolically leads to the multicultural, multiracial path of the game through a continual transformation process. This is a quiz table. The solution was provided by the simple image of the letter Q with the tail represented by a question mark on a solid background, each one of different color. On a gray background, the graphic design recalled the ludic function of the game with an ironic take of the quiz question repeated in the interrogative point of the tail. This is then other table. Is it, did you know that tables is for this group of table and transversal section of the brain as produced by a radiological scanning method with a question mark located between the two hemispheres symbolize the process of the thinking. The brain network become increasingly dependent of the artificial intelligence with neuronal nodes replaced by AI chips working as an integrated system until a short circuit destroyed all the station in a chain reaction due to AI overloading. Consequence, the brain turns suddenly dark with no possibility of restoring its functions. The unexpected finale has the intent to attract attention to current debate on the value of continuing to teach traditional forms of art in school instead of substituting it with courses of advantage technology such as AI, with the consequent risk of not learning skills useful for brain development and psychomotor coordination. This is the rest station. The chromatic composition of the series base of the contrast between a warm color and two cold colors. The color sequence starts warm and ends cold with a navy blue powered blue contrast. The graphing pattern of the image starts cold and abstract, significant social disconnection and isolation. It ends with a symbol of intimate reconnection through an increasing complexity of abstract form that gradually built and dynamic anticipation of a powered blue sculptor, The Kiss by Konstantin Brancusi. The composition led to the rediscovery of human feeling, culminating in intimate embrace and the metaphoric representation of the trajectory of the COVID-19 pandemic. It can also represent the intended transformation of society during the performance, as expressed by SCTC core concept. This is a story table. The use of graphic symbol provides an almost unlimited possibility of communication and an opportunity of their transformation in commemorative object to at least individual or group collect memory. This process could be of particular importance as a part of a recovery process from individual or collective trauma, from an intra and intergenerational memory and perspective. The table inspired theatrical work of community storytelling, a complex, difficult process with many possible risks. This evocative approach could be of particular importance for memory embedded but not yet verbalized into the individual or collective psyche, leading to spontaneous unstructured first stage of bringing them to life. This is a methodology of preparatory material and a list of iconic figure portraits in the game of the goose. I show you just because every student helped to identify, to connect with the figure, and was 9 figure, and the methodology was historical cultural context of the iconic figure, lifetime period, significant events, after sensual experience period, inspirational music, video, political rally, imaging, interview of various figures, understanding the personality, article and question from the iconic figure, painting, inspiration. The process is a first sketch, a basic idea, additional material if necessary, sketch on sec, group critical discussion, and final sketch. I'll show you now one step by step, for example, about a table for Mrs. Franco, Maria Franco. The preparatory material was completed with links to video of Mrs. Franco activities, interviews to other political activists, and music, dance, performances is different style, such as coro, foro, samba, and tropicalia. From the original sketch, is and the favela is represented through the examination of Brazilian murals photo, the imaging of Maria Franco and Christ, the Redeemer through examination of videos of the activities in 3D video on the statue and the mural scene of police, militia, violence against minority, as martyrdom through search of photographic material. The pity of the native Brazilian population is represented by necklace of Maria Franco. All tables have a QR code with a digital inside video, theatricality, text, and imaging. The project also included a tabletop version to be disseminated in educational, social, and cultural context. The development of the table following the principle expressed is opera's theater by Augusto Boll, has a process that must be developed rather than finished produced, that must be consumed. In this representation, Mrs. Franco, the prose activist in the subject of the entire scene in which the drama is expressed by her resurrection for the violent death, but also by the tumultuous rising of the favelas, construction toward the sky crossed by a rainbow as a symbol of the opera's LGBT movement and hope. In this case, many theatrical performances of the theater of the press with a political message can take place and act as a transformative experience through 3 principles: A, osmosis, empowering the press to become themselves activity; B, metaxia, transition from human mortality to divine immortality; C. Analogical induction and general mechanism of refraction stimulate the audience to envision way to break and to sympathy opposed to empathy. This is another about Giancarlo and St. Thomas Smith, the actual representation of lynched Negro men in lieu of the symbol rhyme serves as an inspiration for representation. Let me see, okay, yes, for the representation of the scene, a theatrical workshop or role play performance during the civil rights movement by Black activities, a form of educational applied theater for the actors and the audience alike. In this case, the powerful gesture of protest of the Olympic podium has the ultimate counterpoint in the loss of life by hanging, a dramatic situation which could not be encaming improves a role play in any realistic vision, leaving the press without an opportunity of developing and knowledge of attitude necessary to overcome the risk. It also aims animating the debate regarding civil obedience as not only for trying to soften the opposition in front of Ennaba's daily violence. This is another about Malala. Maybe I go more. Another is okay. I'm here. This is about Mrs. Lehman Bowie and Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for their representation. A web-based research of qualitative data was conducted for A. New media photograph of the Civil War involving children soldiers. B. Drawings by children adolescents made during therapy session for post-traumatic mental health problem. C is a painting by African artists who experienced the war and or portrait children. The purpose was to provide a script for an empathic bond with the children with a deeper understanding of their dramatic experience leading to development of the sense of responsibility for their representation. The artist's representation can also provide a suggesting background for theater performances of drama therapy for at-risk children and adolescents, supporting the resilience theory overcoming adversity, trauma to achieve positive functional outcomes through the interaction between individual, self-awareness and social support of empathy and compassion by audience. Here you can see two students working together on the painting of the single goods table. This is just some technique in a laser cut, 5mm thick stencil of cardboard where reproduction of the graphic sketches. This is like just I give you idea complexity of the color tool for the iconic figure table for Mr. Amelia Hart. This is a preparation of the iconic figure table of Mrs. Malala Yousafzai. You know, the left is drawing the image with the a soft pencil after finalization in scale 1:2 scanning, loading on a computer file and projecting on the table, and the right the finished table. This is just is the final composition of the game for the tabletop version. The chromatic effect of the composition highlight the ludic component of the game. This is just a table by Fondazione Compagnia San Paolo, Project and Culture and Civic Innovation. And this is just the very important place in our academies, Rotonda Taluki in the academy as a background for the tables of the project. I'm finished, but it's possible, I don't know, show the short video, but okay, I have time.
Okay. Yes, please do. Mm-hmm.
can see the video.
But you can see, no?
I'm saying Monica needs to change.
No,
needs
no,
to change
Allora,
screen.
no, if you don't see it, okay, I'm stop here. Sorry.
Needs to change the screen.
Or yes, instead of the displaying the one with the presentation, yes, you can start displaying the video.
Now?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. I'm sorry again.
Yes, you need to choose the screen to share. Yes,
Okay.
there are some suggestions of which screen is to be shared.
Okay, like this?
Oh,
No?
yes, like that.
No.
Yeah, but I can start again. Sorry.
So I'm
Again.
afraid. Yes. Wojnicka is not.
Now you can see. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. We try.
Very impressive indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to thank you. Really, really impressive. That was something wonderful, wonderful. I'm just wondering whether other universities could organize as a license similar workshops, yes, not only for students of art, yes, but in general, yes, for young people to make them aware, yes, of how to face social problems and how to avoid them, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
That was lovely, yes? Aesthetically and as an act, yes, which is to shape adolescent people and mature as well, yes, if it's ready to awaken us as human beings.
Ciao Angela, ti posso salutare.
Lovely, thank you very much. I'm so happy that I could be a moderator of such a great session. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm happy, yes, that everything worked well. Finally, yes.
Thank you.
Bad start, but very good ending.
Okay.
Lovely. Okay, so let me check if Miss Iwona Wojnicka is present, is with us. Miss Iwona Wojnicka, the next speaker, because I cannot see her present. If not, If not, we can devote 5 minutes for questions, yes?
Okay.
The listeners and the viewers, yes, of this session. So everyone, please feel free. Yes, the speakers are there for you to answer questions, which must be asked, definitely. It cannot pass, yes? Such great presentation cannot pass like without notice, without a single word of comment. I shall wait a moment. Feel free to ask. Okay. So, in fact, I would like to ask Miss Monica, have you considered, yes? Have you considered such workshops in different universities, academies, schools? Have you thought about sharing this, well, gorgeous, very impressive idea of the Goose Game?
But it was a big opportunity for the student, and it's important. We are just a partner of another project by Social Community Theater. Is a like applied theater. So art is a very important instrument to learn, to try to make experience about the big problem of the world. Was a very important experience for the student, for the relations between the figure and the story about the figure. No, you work in the first 3 phases was lockdown, and we work online, and every week check and different situation, like for example, Carlos Smith and I show you the table was very strange story, and sometimes the student didn't know the figures, so it was very. Non so se ho spiegato bene, Angela, se puoi aiutarmi. No, ho solo detto che è stato un lavoro molto difficile e importante, perché alla fine è solo un pezzo, no? Manca tutto quello che il social community poi farà con questo lavoro, che è quello di creare. Siamo riusciti a fare solo una performance con i cittadini al Polo del Novecento. So e stiamo presentando il gioco da tavolo.
So I understand the importance, yes, of your work, not only from the perspective of the smaller communities, but also in a large scale, yes, although
you can work
the whole world.
Okay. Was Monica was saying
no.
Yeah, it's just they just it's like it's still a work in progress and keep going, because they did the first, they put the first milestone that was creating this work and put it in place. But then there is still work to come, which is then the use, the community, that they have done a performance already, but then there will be the use that community will do about with this game, and there is the board game, sorry, is still gonna be it's coming. And so they said the first milestone, but sorry, Agnieszka, if I can intervene here, what just Monica said is actually triggered the question for me, that it's really a continuous process. So this kind of work, it's visual, it's material. There are bodies who made this work. There are colors, or there is painting. We saw many arts and many activities, but also it's like keep going. It's really almost forever, So every time a person is going to use that game, once it's out there in the world, it's a performance. It's still always a process, and makes me think of Barbara Bold's words saying that the work of art, when we say something is performative, does not always only belong to the performing arts real, but the work of art is performative when it does things in the world. And I think the work of Monica really does that, and will keep doing that potentially forever, as long as someone is going to interact with it. And this constant transmigration every time, which is transmigrating but always also returning. And this is wonderful. So that, sorry, there was no question, it was just my wow reaction to your work. But if you want to add something, please.
Thank you, Angela.
Great performative, definitely act, yes?
Yeah.
A sort of life cycle again, yes?
It's very important for the world. No,
I hope it will spread, yes? I hope it will spread and carry the message, yes, further and further.
Yeah.
And reach people who are positively, yes, ready to accept it, and in that form somehow vulnerable, yes, to all good ideas to be seated in their minds and hearts. Lovely, wonderful.
And
really, really
can really be a model that can be replicated in other places. And massive work, massive work. So
therapeutic and educational, yes, and involving art, yes, something for the eye, something for the soul, yes, something for the mind, and something for the body as well. Very complex, yes, in terms of results, yes, and in terms of the act of creating and preparing it. Huge wow. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Thank you. Okay, our listeners, do they have any questions? Definitely, I wouldn't like to leave our speakers like that. They deserve much, much more, yes, like long talks, yes, and musing over their works and presentations. Okay. But Carlos is looking sternly at me because we are running out of time, yes? I'm a very lousy moderator, very poor. I so get involved, yes?
Yeah, good moderator, very good.
I'm the last one who wants to finish the discussion. And I need to do that, yes. I'm so happy, yes, that I could simply get to know such a seminal, truly seminal ideas. Yeah, so I would like to express my gratitude, and I truly believe that other people who could listen and watch would do the same, yes, if they had this opportunity. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you all in the next edition, yes, of the conference. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I want to say thank you, Monica, and thank you, Martin Sturbo. They have a very good exposition also. Yeah. Today in the morning was I'm sorry, I only speak in Spanish probably. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's okay. I am great for your papers, your presentations, very beautiful, very deeply done. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me, and good work for everybody, and good luck for you.
Yes, we've got goose pimples. You all give us thrills. and of course, so Ms. Martin, but I will have opportunity to discuss, yes, Mr. Martin's, hopefully, yes, a presentation face to face, as I said, we are representations, and it will stick in my mind. Yes, and I'm sort of a representation. So I need to take care. Yes, of the way of the mode of expression. Yes, and my impact on other people as well. Just that's how I understood. Yes, your presentation. Okay, lovely. So we need to wrap up. Yes, because the next session is coming. Yes.
The next session is coming in about 5 minutes. We go to, no, 5 minutes. We go to start the next session. Is Claudio Santana Borges. He's an actor, director of theater in Chile, but on here work in the Grotowski Institute. Will be presentation in Spanish. But you are invited to the next session with Claudio Santana Borges in 5 minutes to start. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Ok, Claudio, ¿estás?
Acá estoy.
Muy bien, Claudio. Vamos a Martín. Martín te iba a presentar, pero yo quería pedirle a Martín, bueno, Martín te va a moderar la mesa, ¿bien? Martín Stur, el profesor Martín Stur, Claudio Santana Borges, los presento porque creo que no se conocen. Pero yo quisiera decir unas palabritas antes de... O tú lo presentas y yo quisiera decir unas palabritas de Claudio antes de que Claudio empiece, ¿sí? Cortitas porque no quiero dejar a Claudio solo en esto. ¿Está bien? Bueno, cuando quieran empezamos, si quieren, sí, una vez.
Bueno, pues tengo el gusto de presentar a Claudio Santana Borges, que nos va a hablar sobre un tema realmente interesante. Aquí el lugar, hemos llegado, llegar. Bueno, y bueno, antes Carlos quiere también mencionar algo. Bueno, muchas gracias.
Gracias, Martín, gracias. Solamente quiero, bueno, darle las gracias primero que nada a Claudio Santana Borges. Nos conocimos aquí en Polonia, en el Instituto Grotowski. Claudio es un verdadero especialista en el tema del teatro, no sé si podemos decir, Claudio, pero bueno, teatro en la línea de Grotowski, si podemos decir así. Y además es un actor, un director experimentado en este trabajo, con una larga trayectoria. También trabaja en la Universidad de Playa Ancha, en Valparaíso, si no me equivoco, ¿sí?
Sí.
Claudio es chileno, está hablando ahora desde Chile, son las 7 de la mañana en Chile. Hace un poquito temprano lo levantamos, pero bueno. Y lo otro que quería decir, bueno, quería agradecerle a Claudio porque él estuvo en la conferencia anterior y a partir de ese momento y en base a nuestra amistad, que no es tan lejana en el tiempo, pero que es profunda, me parece, estuvimos conversando para que él participara con una ponencia plenaria o una invitación especial que le hicimos a Claudio. Así que te agradecemos mucho, Claudio, esta oportunidad y bueno, te escuchamos.
Muchas gracias. Primero, ¿se me escucha bien?
Sí.
Sí, perfecto. Bien, muchas gracias. Muy buenos días desde acá, desde Valparaíso, la quinta región en Chile. Este país al otro lado de la cordillera de los Andes. Una sensación de isla siempre en este país. Tenemos la gran cordillera. Por una parte, en la otra parte tenemos el Océano Pacífico, al norte tenemos el desierto y al sur la Antártica. Entonces nos da siempre esa sensación de estar un poco lejos, un poco en el fin del mundo. Incluso Chile, el significado es donde termina el mundo. Estoy muy agradecido de estar acá. Es bien temprano, son las 7 de la mañana. pero ya soñaba con estar aquí. Y agradecido de Carlos también y de todo el comité que organiza esta teatralidad, antiteatralidad, el congreso, que es muy nutrido el programa, muy interesante. Y también ahora en la situación de que hay Argentina, Polonia y también Australia, entonces como un congreso donde nunca se pone el sol. Una vez habíamos comentado eso con Carlos en alguna conversación que tuvimos previamente. Y claro, son tiempos también que están teñidos por el avance bélico, y ustedes lo tienen bastante cerca por allá, y eso también, bueno, son situaciones que nos están haciendo algún roce, algún tipo de preocupación sobre quizás hacia dónde avanzaremos, que esperemos sea, ojalá, que llegue rápido la paz, una palabra difícil casi de pronunciar porque alguna vez hemos tenido un momento de paz en este mundo que vivimos, entonces ojalá se enfríen las cosas y puedan llegar a un término pacífico. Bien, también mencionar acá en Chile estamos en un momento importantísimo, tuvimos recién el cambio de presidente, se fue Piñera y llegó Boric, un presidente de 35 años, 36 años, muy joven, y que también tendremos nueva constitución este año, acá en Chile, a votarla en septiembre, y se está redactando, lo cual deja de lado la constitución de la dictadura de Pinochet, que increíblemente la hemos tenido hasta el día de hoy. Así que estamos con esa esperanza, con esa alegría de que las cosas, por fin, luego de 40 años de democracia entregada desde la dictadura, podamos acceder, y no acceder, se nos puedan otorgar derechos en este país. Es un país demasiado extremo, neoliberal, en la cual tú solo tienes acceso, pero no derechos. En fin, eso un poco para contextualizar el lugar en el cual estamos, en el momento histórico, por donde se les mire. Yo creo que todas las personas estamos en momentos históricos también. Entro al tema, la conferencia o este momento de compartir nuestro trabajo se llama, este es el lugar, hemos llegado, llegar y guión llegar. Esperemos que al final de lo que vaya a compartir con ustedes podamos haber dilucidado qué diablo significa eso. Comenzaremos hablando del Performer Persona Project, que es el proyecto que dirijo hace ya 12 años. Y comentaré con ustedes también la actual investigación que estamos llevando a cabo, que creo que en el año 2018, cuando conocí a Carlos ahí en Brzezinka, en el Grotowski Institute, estábamos en el inicio de ese proyecto, que tiene que ver con la simple práctica performativa. Luego haré algún tipo de enlace con Barranco. Barranco es un monólogo, es un solo performance, que nace también en estas épocas de crisis, del año 2019 más o menos, que está siendo trabajado en un momento bastante, ¿cómo decirlo? No quiero decir complejo, pero un momento necesario para nuestro país, que fue el estallido social de octubre de 2019. Nuestro pueblo se cansó de tanto abuso y levantamos las manos, salimos a la calle y fue el estallido que nos llevó al actual momento de cambiar la constitución, ¿no? Cambiar la carta magna de nuestro país, de cómo nos organizamos, de cómo nos vemos, cómo vivimos. Eso también se cruza con el momento también creativo en Barranco, y por supuesto luego tuvimos la pandemia en todo el mundo, que nos dejó con los teatros encerrados y todas las personas más bien confinadas, ¿no? Y poco a poco hemos ido retomando ese lugar. Y eso sería lo que voy a tratar de compartir el día de hoy. Me hacía varias preguntas estos días de cuál es el punto de vista para poder compartir esto. Porque básicamente, como decía Carlos en la introducción, podría definirme, ¿no? Que a veces es complicado porque uno es tantas personas, cumple tantos roles en un día, como un practicante. No, si bien investigo y también hago publicaciones, todo proviene desde la práctica, proviene desde la vivencia, desde la experiencia, desde el interior del trabajo, que luego se transforma en un escrito, en una publicación, o bien solamente llega a las bitácoras y luego con el grupo, con el ensamble, con Francesca Bono, con Juan Pablo Sáez, y ahora Juan Pablo Vázquez, y ahora con Julio Ferreto, que somos los miembros del ensamble, lo ponemos en discusión y realizamos una nueva performance, o sea, estamos en este ir y venir entre la reflexión, entre la práctica, la reflexión y la práctica y la reflexión, y llegan momentos, por ejemplo, como ahora, que son hitos, ¿no? Abrimos las puertas del trabajo y compartimos en qué estamos, y lo ordenamos de alguna manera, ¿no? En palabras, como va a ser el caso de hoy. Entonces, desde ese punto, les hablo desde el interior del trabajo, y ahí me tomo un poco de lo que Peter Brook en un momento nombraba, que el teatro es una herramienta poderosa de conocimiento, y principalmente para entrar en un drama, y solo un drama, que sería el drama de la propia existencia. Al definirnos, y hablo también de mi grupo, hablo muy en plural porque nuestras reflexiones son en conjunto. De ninguna manera yo podría hacer lo que estoy haciendo incluso ahora, solitaria, ¿no? Siendo como un director en solitario que hago un trabajo y siempre cambio a la demás gente, sino que somos un ensamble, nos definimos como un ensamble. El ensamble tiene una característica particular, que es el trato familiar, que es un lugar también de aprendizaje, siendo yo la persona con más experiencia, de algún modo las personas que trabajan conmigo podemos aprender algo, ¿no? Yo aprendo también de ella, de estas personas, de su experiencia, cómo se desenvuelven distintos procedimientos. También el principal objetivo no es el espectáculo, ¿no? Sino que podría ser el aprendizaje, y ciertamente en nuestro caso también hacemos espectáculo, también hacemos performances, es decir, presentaciones que están sin la iluminación, sin la escenografía, ¿no? Que no están en los espacios teatrales, sino que la estructura es un poco más abierta, con el encuentro también con público, con espectadores, con comunidades. Nos definimos, bueno, también hablando de practicante, hablando de practicar, que en nuestro caso sería bueno también hacer alguna referencia a lo que es un performer, lo que es un actuante, lo que es un hacedor, hacedora, un histrión, un cómico, qué sé yo, un chamán, si también te gusta, ¿no? Me encantaría quizás ser el curandero de la tribu, ¿no? Que además se muestra en el inframundo y cuenta la historia de la tribu, algo así, ¿no? Como todo un complejo de persona que puede adentrarse dentro de la comunidad, al mismo tiempo contar la historia personal, y al mismo tiempo lo que hacemos puede ayudar a calmar las aguas, ¿no? Otra palabra como sanar, haciendo atención a todo lo que es también en nuestro oficio está el componente terapéutico, en nuestro oficio también está el componente de memoria, etcétera, ¿no? El performer, por supuesto, es quien no hace la parte de otro. Me estoy tomando de estos artículos, por ejemplo, el performer de Seady Grotowski, ¿no? No hace la parte de otro, sino que habla en su propio nombre, en donde es un guerrero o una guerrera que se lanza sobre el conocimiento, a conquistar el conocimiento, y en este proceso de resistencia es donde se encuentra que saber es hacer, ¿no? El conocimiento es una cuestión de hacer. El hacedor o hacedora en su nombre está, simplemente hace, hace, hace. El actuante es quien reacciona, ¿no? Como quien dice que el secreto del teatro, el secreto del arte escénico es algo pasa y tú reaccionas. Después habría que preguntarse si es que uno está reaccionando, ¿no? Si es que uno está con ese instinto de reactividad, de que algo sucede y inmediatamente mi cuerpo o mi cuerpa, también si te gusta así, mi cuerpo o mi cuerpa puede reaccionar, ¿no? De manera instintiva. Y quizás ahí nos damos cuenta que en el modo que de repente uno lleva para vivir, cada vez reaccionamos menos, ¿no? Pensamos a lo que reaccionamos, buscamos la reacción, comillas, adecuada, ¿no? Estamos un poco domesticados y domesticadas, como normados y normadas con tantos roles que hacemos. Entonces, este secreto se hace algo que te podría llevar toda la vida, practicar esto de estar vivo y viva y reaccionar, porque la reacción es anterior incluso al pensamiento, a la racionalización de lo que está aconteciendo, ¿no? El acontecimiento. Entonces, básicamente el Performer Persona Project cultiva esta práctica, una práctica, podría decirlo ahora, ¿no? Como de la reacción, de estar vivos y vivas y poder estar en acorde e en armonía con todo lo que nos está rodeando en ese momento. Práctica, sería bueno también definirla de algún modo, que nos referimos con una práctica. Nos referimos como en un tono un poco más de las prácticas orientales, ¿no? Que no tienen como una finalidad, no tienen un propósito, ¿no? El que blande la espada, el espadachín, ¿no? En técnicas orientales no tiene el propósito de poder batir al contrincante. Quien lanza la flecha en el arco, ¿no? Por ejemplo, libros como el Zen en el arte del tiro con arco, no, el objetivo no está en darle al blanco, ¿no? Sino que todas estas artesanías, estas ejercitaciones que ocupan principalmente tu cuerpo, que hacen este milagro de unir la mente, de unir tu corazón,